Hello, my name is Daniel Sweetser. I'm reading from my novel Hope Starts Small. This morning I am reading chapter 4, section 4, Downstairs. Alma moved with Frank and Constance to the barn, but by the time the family had determined to move, Opa had passed away in Illinois, leaving his many dreams incomplete. And so when Oma moved to the barn, she was moving to a place that was only ever hers and never his. This was new. Of course, it was one house. Two of the rooms on her floor got taken up by an office for Frank and a playroom for the kids. But she had her own bedroom, her own living room, her own bathroom, and her own kitchen. And of course, the walls were hers to do with as she saw fit. It was with delight that Frank received requests periodically to put a nail on the wall and hang up a painting or a knick-knack, or to move a bookshelf from one spot to another. Every one of these little requests was like a shoot coming out of the ground where Oma had been planted. Each one was like a little promise that Oma would not so easily give up, and was there for as long as the Lord gave her time. So he would gladly do the task, installing the light fixture, hanging up the painting, rearranging the furniture. And in time, Oma's place began to take shape. For Frank, it seemed that here was what her home in Illinois was always meant to be, but never was. If you took away the storms and the clutter, what would be left was a quiet, lovely place full of familiar things. And he got to see that take shape for Oma in the barn. She had a chalkboard where she would write a favorite Bible verse. She had pictures on the walls of dear family from Germany. She hung up drawings from the grandchildren and favorite paintings of flowers. She had a bird song clock on the wall. She had a special shelf with a picture of Opa and some flowers beside. She kept this right by her chair in her bedroom. It was a quiet tribute to her love for him that held so strong for so many years. She had another chair in the living room, and this looked out on a view of a beautiful maple tree, surrounded by the kids' toys. Beyond that, there was a neighbor's fenced field that held 2 horses. When the family first moved in, there was no connection between the 2 floors, but the family had stashed away some money specifically for the purpose of installing stairs in the house. And all it took was Zoe wandering outside one early morning to go play downstairs. Frank called the contractor and got the ball rolling. The installation was done soon thereafter. The layout was unfortunate, as the stairs landed near the middle of Oma's living room. But it was the only place to put them, and she made the most of it. She didn't lose her view, and she nestled her chair beside the stairs rather comfortably. Once the stairs were in, the kids had enviable access to Oma. Zoe could sneak down during the day and ask Oma if she could have a treat, a knoppers. When Constance needed a respite from the kids, she could sneak downstairs with a hot cup of coffee and chat with Oma about her day. It wasn't perfect, but it was awfully close to how the real thing is when someone believes in Jesus and gets to talk to God. Their Heavenly Father is always accessible, ready to listen, welcoming, beaming to see them. And so, in some small part, it was with Oma. This arrangement was in many ways fundamentally unfair to the extended family. Constance had 2 sisters who each would have gladly welcomed the prospect of a live-in Oma. But for whatever reason, she had landed with Frank and Constance in the barn. And so, as a result, the other daughters came to her. They would visit for fun with the grandkids or come alone and in need. And so, slowly but surely, everyone began to make memories in Oma's place. But of all the family members who benefited from this arrangement, the one who gained the most was the eldest family dog, Alvin. He was aging, gracefully but surely, and had begun to prefer the quiet presence and company of Oma over against the chaos that was the family's day-to-day. So, whenever the opportunity presented itself, he would nudge his nose against the upstairs door, and if it budged, he would sneak through and down to her. Sometimes he would hide in Frank's office, resting on a dog bed there, but just as often he would lay in front of Oma as she sat in her chair watching Hallmark movies. He loved her and expressed his love through proximity. Sometimes he would go so far as to sit his rump right on her feet. When Frank was working during the day, he could hear the footsteps on the stairs. Sometimes it was the pitter-patter of Zoe sneaking down to say hi and sneak a treat. Sometimes it was the determined march of Alvin, making his way out of the chaos to spend some time with Oma. Those stairs had become something of a gateway, a magic portal, from the everyday and mundane into the quiet places, the secret garden, a small taste of shalom in advance. All right, thanks for listening. Have a great day.